This is very cheeky to include this, isn't it?
Hello, I'm Rebecca English.
Hello, I'm Richard Eden.
I'm Charlotte Griffiths.
And this is Acting Royal.
I've been asked to watch some clips showing representations of Harry and Meghan over the years.
Let's see what it's all about. Here we go.
What's the status of the meeting between me and Gran?
The Queen's people have postponed your meeting again, Your Highness.
What?
The palace has said that the Queen will be available to see you in 23 days' time.
Oh, that's a very long time.
Yes, well, we British tend to be rather good at pretending something isn't happening for so long, it'll simply just go away. Occasionally works.
This is not going away.
This is honestly what I think. When Harry wrote Spare, I think he was imagining this in his head. It's almost like it's Spare vomited onto a TV screen. It's such nonsense. It's so unrealistic.
There's a great line with the courtier who is, I think, what you would imagine a typically stiff upper lip style courtier to be, many of whom are not, but some of whom who are, saying, you know, this is a very British thing, we know something's happened, but we just pretend we don't hear it in the hope that it would go away. And that was definitely much the palace's reaction to what Harry and Meghan were asking, just because they thought what they were doing was unworkable. And that they hoped by just, you know, proving that they could be normal working members of the royal family, they would forget about this idea of those. And clearly that was something Harry and Meghan weren't willing to do.
Essentially, he thought that if he sat down with his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, and talked things through, she would understand what their concerns were and they'd be able to work things out. But he later complained that even though she'd initially agreed to meet him, then it became difficult and courtiers started putting up barriers and saying that, you know, they'd have to wait and they couldn't meet. And that eventually sort of forced them to rush out statements.
Pa, I just thought you should know we're going public with our plans. We've got to get ahead of the press.
Have you gone mad? When?
In about 10 minutes.
You can't be serious. A 10-minute warning?
Pa, I've been trying to tell you for months, and you've done nothing but stall. And if I'm really being honest, I've been trying to tell you I wanted to leave the firm my whole life. But you weren't listening. The same way you didn't listen to Mum.
Harry, how dare you?
You know, Meghan had her own moment when she was pregnant with Archie. That's what the firm does to people.
Oh, Harry, stop this right now.
I am. I'm stopping them from destroying us like they have so many others. So yeah, you get a 10-minute warning.
You get a 10-minute warning. I mean, I think in reality, this probably wouldn't have happened because the king doesn't like talking on a phone. He doesn't have his own mobile. And I think there would have been too many barriers put up for that to happen. But it's, you know, it's good drama and it's certainly things we can imagine the king saying.
Harry and Meghan escaping the palace is a real mixture of contradictions, because on one hand we probably have one of the worst Prince Harry lookalikes, physically wise, apart from the fact that he's also a redhead.
He's a bit taller than Harry, I think, in real life, but he seems to have captured him quite well.
Although the dialogue is imagined, a lot of what they're saying really did happen. That Harry and Meghan had been speaking to the palace for a very long time, many, many months, about their desire to have this kind of half in, half out relationship where they didn't have to be full-time working royals and could pursue commercial interests but still retain the perks and also do some of the work. And that actually did happen.
I think it's fair to say that Harry sees the firm as this entity that's very oppressive and imposing, but also like a sort of a cinematic universe that he can exploit in his own time. And yeah, and a brand almost that he can attach himself to whilst at the same time fleeing away from and sort of insulting as often as he can. But you know, that crown that they use at the top of their letterheads, they didn't decide to delete that when they left the royal family. They think of it as a brand, I think. And I think maybe that comes across a little bit.
Oh, so we've got Kristen Stewart
Mummy?
as Princess Diana.
Why do we have to open our presents on Christmas Eve? Why not Christmas Day like everybody else?
I'm trying not to laugh. It's a bit silly, isn't it? Very stilted, I think. I just can't really imagine the boys saying that about Christmas, to be honest.
Well, this is Prince Harry at his sweetest, you know, lying there with his head in his mother's lap.
Daddy told Harry it's
a sort of picture of innocence, really, and
the day before everybody else.
how they had their ideal life, you know, with their mother. So it's a very nostalgic portrayal. I mean, generally when we see representations of William and Harry with their father, it tends to be quite formal and stiff. You know, and Harry's written about that in his memoirs, how his father would come and say goodnight to him, and it always felt quite formal. But here we have, you know, Harry just lounging round, lying with his head resting in his mother's lap. And it couldn't be more intimate, natural setting. And I presume that's what the filmmakers were trying to portray.
I thought that was quite an accurate depiction, actually. And you can see that kind of tussle between two brothers, and I've got two kids. That's exactly what little kids do. They kind of just squabble, especially over things to do with presents.
So obviously we have a little red-headed actor playing Harry, so in that respect there is a physical similarity between the two, but character-wise I think not. The real Harry that we know as a child from the people who were with him intimately, you know, the staff, the cooks, the valets, the police officers, talk about being a very spirited child, you know, quite naughty, quite mischievous, you know, constantly fighting with his brother, and that may not surprise viewers at all. And this child seems quite kind of placid and quite manipulated. And I'm sure it must have been a very confusing time for him as a young boy. I mean, it would be for any child whose parents were breaking up, let alone in such a, you know, public limelight. But the Harry here almost seems a bit part to the relationship between his parents and this implosion of their relationship.
Okay, we're on to the next one now. This could
hook up with some rando the night before your mother's acceptance speech. You don't have her sign an NDA.
Well, this is definitely not the Crown.
And then you let her bring her phone in here.
Okay, there's Prince Harry. Prince Harry's in a cupboard. Okay, this makes total sense.
This is really something else now.
And who knows about this?
Literally no one but you. And the Secret Service. And Percy. Wait, and Nora.
Oh, and I told my sister.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was really happy for us.
This is hilarious. So this is the son of the president is having an affair with Prince Harry.
So, am I worth telling you that this is a fictional Prince Henry?
Okay. Sorry, not Prince Harry, a fictional Prince Henry.
I haven't told
This is terrible.
Oh, gee, kid, I'm sorry to interrupt your process of becoming, but you're the one who decided to put your into the heir to the British throne.
Technically, I'm the spare.
Not talking to you, sir.
This is very cheeky to include this, isn't it? It's certainly an amusing fantasy. And you've got the practicalities as well. I think in this case, they're talking about the spare. So it's not the direct line of succession, but if it was the heir to the throne, then you're thinking about children and the implications of that. But yeah, it's a really interesting scenario, but I think we'll stick with fantasy just for now.
I will no longer be the prince of shame and of secrets.
Well, I suppose this offloading is very Harry.
Starting today, the world will know me for who I am, and not who you want me to be.
Interesting they haven't gone for the red hair colour, this one, because of course it is Henry, not Harry.
I can't believe you put me on the spot with this one. Well, clearly this is a fictional story, very much so, in the circumstances. Who's not to say it might not happen one day, but we certainly, not that we know of, have seen it happen until now. The one thing I would say that did ring true is this idea of the Prince Henry offloading and saying, I'm not going to be who you expect me to be, I want to live my life authentically, because of course I would say that's something we've heard quite a lot of over recent years, and we've even read a book, Spare, about it, but obviously a very different set of circumstances.
Obviously completely mad, but very funny. I wonder if they've ever watched it.
This is something which we've never seen in Britain, which would be an openly gay member of the royal family, you know, let alone in this case clearly a very senior one. You know, we even had it was a big story when a very junior member of the extended royal family, Lord Ivor Mountbatten, came out as gay and got married. So this is really something I find it hard to envisage at all. You know, it's obviously making for very entertaining drama, but I really can't imagine this happening in real life.
I think people would be supportive of it, actually. I think, why not? I think we should have a gay member of the royal family. We'll have to we'll have to see what happens in the future. But yeah, I mean, talk about modernising the royal family. It's about time, I say.
Hi, I'm Meghan Markle.
And I'm Harry. Harry.
And we're royally screwed.
That's very good. Harry's forgotten his surname, because now we know, since As Ever came out, that their surname keeps changing, and Meghan's just rebranded herself as Sussex. So it's quite funny he's not quite sure what his surname is in this clip.
Each week we take a house from drab
to fab. The Anderson family had $75,000 to renovate their 3-bedroom ranch house.
It was our life savings.
Anderson family, do you remember what your house used to look like? Would you like to see what it looks like now?
This is very funny. The cartoon's always the best
Come
ones,
on
I
in,
think.
guys.
Do you love it? Real solid gold inlay. It makes the whole room pop.
You spent $75,000 on backsplash?
No. We spent $100,000.
Ugh.
That's very good. So they're alluding to their big spending habits. And at the time, they had just done Frogmore Cottage up for £2.4 million. So I'm sure that's what that's a riff on. Yeah, very funny.
I think this clip is particularly funny because it really sums up very effectively the kind of money for old ropeism of what Harry and Meghan have been doing since leaving the royal family in terms of their Netflix and media deals. And that's been a criticism that's been levelled at them a lot, which is taking vast sums of money and producing pretty substandard content for it. At the beginning, there's a very awkward moment where Meghan introduces herself as Meghan Markle on the assumption that everybody knows who she is, whereas Harry kind of looks slightly awkward and shrugs his shoulders and says, well, I'm Harry, as if he doesn't really know what he is now. And I think that's quite clever psychologically, because I think that's what we've seen from Harry since he's left the royal family, is that he kind of stormed off in a huff, but actually doesn't really know what to do next, because it's being a member of the royal family was all he was ever brought up to know. So I think it's very clever in that respect.
I don't think this one is actually that amusing, but it has sort of hit the nail on the head, you could say, in terms of Harry and Meghan and what they were going to do for Netflix. There's been all sorts of suggestions, and particularly with Meghan's company, the lifestyle company, there was suggestions that, you know, she was going to base her company on other reality TV shows, you know, where they've achieved success and managed to sell things. And I think this is a reference to that what can we get them to do? And it's a satire on, will they work as hosts of a program? Do they understand normal people? Clearly the makers of this program think they don't.
What's wrong?
Well, I spent the entire day begging my nearest and not so dearest friends and family to turn the press away, to refuse cold hard cash and deny that Maggie is dating Harry, because your family would not consider that dignified. And then
that's pretty insulting.
They come out with the news themselves.
This is ridiculous. This idea that, you know, Meghan here was, you know, upset by the news coming out. I mean, I remember distinctly when a newspaper broke the story of Harry and Meghan's romance. Meghan appeared to be loving it. She was smiling for the cameras who, you know, had flocked to her house in Canada. And I think, didn't she later say that she was asked not to smile so much because, you know, it was awkward for the royal family. But this idea that she was sort of horrified by the reaction, I think is absurd.
My family are just voiceless pawns in this little game we're playing. You know, my half-siblings, who have never quite gotten over the feeling that my dad abandoned them, are now able to crow very publicly that Daddy's little princess is just an ambitious, spoiled brat, when everything that I have done was to abide by the needs of your family.
She's also defending her half-siblings and her family, whereas we know that pretty much as soon as she met Harry, she cut them all off, more or less. And especially, you know, her father, which this alludes to when her father sold his own paparazzi pictures on himself. That was it, she cut them off. And here she's been quite supportive about her stepsister, but we know she's never liked her stepsister and always distanced herself from her stepsister and always felt a little bit embarrassed by her family, didn't even invite them to her wedding. So it's interesting to see her defending them and sticking up for them in this clip.
Why don't we talk about this? Look at this statement. Did you write it yourself?
Hmm?
Okay, so then Prince Harry's worried about Ms. Markle's safety and is deeply disappointed that he's not been able to protect her.
That's all true.
Protect me?
What's the problem with
And
that?
she's got the voice
Problem is
quite
that I
well.
am not some damsel in distress who needs to be rescued by her Prince Charming.
Oh, you know I didn't mean it like that.
I'm a grown-ass woman living in a real modern world and not some fragile wench up in an ivory tower. My tower ain't ivory, dude.
This is interesting because this portrayal is showing Meghan as like really hurt by all the attention on her, and Harry produces the letter that he sent out to the press saying, you know, leave my girlfriend alone, and she's surprised by it and feels that she should have been more consulted. But I don't think that's how it happened at all. I think she was very much the driving force between all of that early publicity and how it played out. I don't think she was shocked and surprised and upset. I think she stood shoulder to shoulder with Harry at that time and very much helped him mastermind every word of that statement that he released.
I was happy before I met you, and I'll be happy again.
Is this what you really want?
The one thing that really is a takeaway from me is this depiction of the actor playing Harry, that the fear that the relationship wouldn't see the distance and she would be scared off by the public and media attention. That is definitely true, because he felt that played a large part in the ending of his previous serious relationships. And I know from speaking to kind of friends and contacts that that was something he was really fearful of, because he really wanted to settle down and have what his brother and sister-in-law had, and to start a family. So I can well believe elements of that. I mean, the Harry in this clip is portrayed as quite a supine character, and I think that would surprise people, considering at the time, you know, he was one of the kind of rock stars of the royal family, so to speak, and not shy in holding back on his opinions. But I do really feel, in a way, there are a certain level of accuracy there, because he was so desperate to make this relationship work. And he, from what I hear from insiders, he really did tiptoe around Meghan quite a lot. He was also very proud of the fact that she was a working woman who'd made a career of her own, and he was keen to ensure that she would find a way for that to continue after they got engaged. I mean, royal family actually did ask Meghan if she wanted to continue working as an actress, and they wouldn't have any problem with that at all. And in fact, it was Harry and Meghan who were keen for her not to do that and to come into the royal fold and start careers as full-time working royals.
So this drama is portraying them actually sort of splitting up, with Meghan there, you know, handing back the African bracelet that she and Harry have both got. You know, this is from the realms of fiction, the idea that Meghan was unsure about the wedding. I think she couldn't have been keener. You know, she was keen as mustard to get engaged and marry. I mean, remember, we had a Vanity Fair magazine cover coming out of very soon after this. I mean, obviously it makes for a good drama if they're splitting up and Harry has to convince Meghan to stay with him. But no, that really wasn't reality, I think.
It's obviously a very complimentary portrayal of Meghan, this one. I almost wonder if she had a hand in the script. Family Guy now.
That's fine, I'll go it alone. Just like Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
Sir, your millions from Netflix for no one knows what.
Put it with the rest of them.
Babe, time to do our daily $250,000 sponsored Instagram post for Del Taco.
Well, that's very funny. I mean, the Instagram thing, not true, because they didn't use Instagram for ages. The thing about not knowing why on earth they're being paid so much by Netflix has definitely come to pass. So, well done, Family Guy. I think that was a good take.
The Family Guy clip is in yet another brilliant piece of television, which, much as I love what I write, I think cuts through even more than any newspaper story. I think what it does is it captures what some people might feel is the vacuous nature of Harry and Meghan's lifestyle, sitting around in California drinking cocktails, trying to bank the most money for doing the minimum work. And I think it's quite prophetic in a way, because it talks about Meghan kind of claiming a $250,000 check for a next Instagram post. Now, at the time, they weren't on social media, and they'd gone off it in a huff, talking about the evils of social media and how terrible it was and how they didn't want to be part of it. And the funny thing is, we've come back full circle, and now we see Meghan back on Instagram, and in a way where she's actively using it to sell her lifestyle, the clothes she wears, the makeup she uses, the products she uses in her kitchen. So it was really quite prophetic in that way.
Oh, this is hilarious. I think this sort of reflects when the tide was turning, perhaps, against the couple, and people were having sort of second thoughts about their motives. I mean, this joke about, Netflix and Harry just saying, "Oh, put it on my pile of money." I think, there's an element of truth in that. I remember in the Oprah Winfrey interview, we had Harry sort of talking about how he never really wanted to sign these deals. He only did so because their security was withdrawn. So I think he wasn't keen on doing it, and this is a sort of flippant reminder of that.
That was a real trip.
I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen in Acting Royal today. Do let us know in the comments below.
And for more great royal content, don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Mail Royals YouTube channel.